They said no one survived the hot box, but Peggy refused to die. Peggy was born into chains, a world where her body belonged to others. Her days were long, her nights even longer, a life of labor, abuse, and fear. But Peggy had a fire inside her, a spark that refused to be extinguished. Her master was cruel. Whispers of a new punishment had spread through the quarters. The hot box, a metal coffin of agony. Locked for days, no food, no water, just unbearable heat. The other slaves trembled at the thought. Many had tried to resist. All had failed. All had vanished. Peggy, however, was different. She had seen cruelty before. She had felt pain before, and she had survived. The day came when the guards dragged her from the cabin. Her wrists burned from the chains. Her heart pounded like a drum. The hot box stood before her, a massive iron chest, dark, unyielding, merciless. They threw her inside. The lid slammed shut. The world disappeared. Heat pressed against her skin. The air grew thin. Her breath came in sharp, desperate gasps. But Peggy did not scream. She did not beg. She clenched her fists. A single thought burned in her mind. I will survive. Outside, the guards laughed. They thought the fire would consume her. They did not know Peggy's fire burned brighter. This was just the beginning. The agony had only started. The heat was unbearable, but Peggy's spirit was unbreakable. The first night in the hot box was pure hell. Metal walls pressed in from every side. The sun outside beat down like a hammer. Inside, it felt like a furnace. Every breath scorched her lungs. Every movement seared her skin. She thought of freedom, of her mother's soft hands, of the small joys stolen by chains. Her body screamed. Her mind fought to stay awake. Sleep would mean death. She clenched her teeth. She reminded herself, I will survive. The guards came to gawk. They pushed the lid slightly open. A wave of scorching air hit her. Beg, they hissed. Cry. Admit your weakness. Peggy spat at the metal, a small act of rebellion, a sign that she still had control. Hours dragged like years. Her skin blistered, her throat parched, her legs cramped. Yet in the darkness, she began to plan how to survive, how to fight back. Every second of agony sharpened her mind. Outside, laughter echoed. Inside, Peggy whispered to herself, You cannot break me. I will live, even if it kills me. And for the first time, a spark of hope lit her soul. The fire outside could not touch the fire within. If you want to witness Peggy's fight against unimaginable torment, share, comment, and subscribe. Her story is just beginning. The hot box wasn't just a cage. It was a battlefield. The second day arrived like a nightmare. Heat clung to her skin. The air inside thickened. Each breath felt like fire. Peggy's body shook. Her muscles ached. Her throat burned. Her eyes welled with tears, but she refused to cry. Pain became her companion. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. Thirst scorched her lips. Yet she focused. Every second was a test, every heartbeat a victory. She remembered the stories. Others had died in silence, their screams forgotten by the world. Peggy refused to join them. Her mind raced, small movements to avoid burning her skin, strategic breaths to survive the heat. She whispered to herself, Every second I endure is a second closer to freedom. The guards came again, mocking smiles. A stick poked the lid. Give in, they taunted. Admit you are nothing. Peggy laughed softly. a sound of defiance. They could torment her body, but her mind remained untouchable. The hours blurred, heat and darkness became one, but she noticed something. The metal lid would expand under the sun. If she timed it, a tiny gap could give her air, a moment of relief. Even in this nightmare, Peggy's mind fought back. Her will became sharper than the pain. Her fire burned brighter than the sun above. The hotbox was cruel, but Peggy was crueler in spirit. The heat was unbearable, but Peggy's defiance burned hotter. By the third day, the hotbox became a prison of fire. Metal walls radiated like the sun. Every inch of her skin blistered. Every breath scorched her lungs. Her body shook uncontrollably. Sweat poured like rivers. Her tongue stuck to the roof of her mouth. Pain was constant. Relief was a stranger. The guards laughed outside. Their cruelty was endless. They kicked the lid, yelled threats. "Give up, Peggy. You are nothing." Peggy's heart pounded, but she refused to yield. Every scream she swallowed made her stronger in secret. Her mind became her weapon. She imagined a world beyond the chains, a place where she could be free. Every memory of warmth, laughter, love fueled her survival. Hours turned into days. Time lost meaning. The sun rose and fell, but Peggy endured. She found ways to trick the heat, shifting her position, finding cooler corners, conserving every drop of energy. Every small victory kept her alive. The guards had no idea. They thought fear would break her. They were wrong. Peggy's spirit was untouchable. The hotbox was meant to destroy her. Instead, it revealed the unbreakable woman within. If you want to see how Peggy continues to survive unimaginable torment, share, comment, and subscribe. Her battle is far from over. Even in the darkest cage, Peggy's mind became her weapon. By the fourth day, the heat was relentless. Her skin burned, her muscles screamed, her body begged for surrender. But Peggy was clever. She remembered how metal expands under the sun. She shifted inch by inch, finding tiny gaps of cooler air, moments that kept her alive. She imagined the world outside, fields of green, rivers flowing, children laughing. Every thought was a spark of hope. The guards mocked her. Even the strongest break, they sneered. Peggy smiled quietly. She would show them strength they couldn't touch. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. Thirst scorched her lips. Her body trembled, yet her mind remained sharp. Every second of pain became a lesson. Every wave of heat taught her endurance. She practiced small tricks, curling her body to avoid contact with the hottest walls, holding her breath when the air became unbearable, counting seconds like victories. She was learning the rhythm of the hotbox, learning its weaknesses. The guards thought they controlled her, but Peggy was plotting. Every day she survived, every cruel laugh they threw, only made her stronger. The fire outside could burn her flesh. It could not touch her spirit. Peggy refused to be broken. The heat was no longer just a punishment. It was a test of Peggy's very soul. By the fifth day, the hotbox had become a relentless furnace. The metal walls radiated like molten iron. Every inch of Peggy's skin screamed. Every breath scorched her lungs. Her body trembled with exhaustion. Her muscles burned. Her back ached from the unyielding floor. Her blistered hands throbbed whenever she moved, and yet her mind was sharper than ever. The first hour of that day, she simply lay still, trying not to breathe too deeply, trying not to move a muscle. She imagined the world outside, cool shade, the sound of water, wind on her face, a world that felt impossible to reach, yet in her imagination, it was her refuge, her small private victory. The guards came again. Their laughter echoed across the yard. "Today you will break, Peggy," one sneered. Another kicked the lid with a cruel smirk. They didn't know that every poke, every shove, only strengthened her resolve. She learned the rhythm of the chest, where it expanded with the heat of the sun, where the walls offered a tiny reprieve from the fire. She shifted carefully, inch by inch, to survive. She held her breath when the air became unbearable. She conserved her energy. Every movement was calculated, every breath measured. Her body protested with every passing second. Thirst clawed at her throat. Hunger gnawed at her stomach. Every joint screamed in pain. Her tongue felt like leather. Her lips cracked and bled. But Peggy had learned something crucial. Pain could not kill her spirit. She began to whisper to herself, small phrases, mantras of endurance. Just one more hour, one more second, survive. Her mind became a weapon sharper than any tool the guards had used against her. In the cracks of the iron, she noticed tiny droplets of condensation, a rare gift. She licked them, one by one, savoring each. Even a single drop of water felt like a triumph. Each moment of survival became a rebellion. The heat was suffocating, but Peggy refused to surrender to despair. Every scream she swallowed became a silent act of defiance. Every pang of agony transformed into determination. She remembered stories of those who had died in the hot box before her. They had perished quietly, their cries unheard, their spirits extinguished. Peggy refused to join them. Her mind traveled beyond the metal walls, to her mother's soft hands, to the small joys she had once known, to the laughter of friends who had been lost to cruelty. Each memory became a shield, each image a spark that refused to die. The guards assumed that hunger and thirst would break her. They did not understand that her mind could survive what her body could not. Even as every muscle quivered, Peggy's resolve remained unshaken. She had turned suffering into strategy, pain into power. The chest had a purpose, to destroy, but she had a purpose, to endure. Hours passed, minutes stretched into eternity. The sun's heat was relentless. Her body weakened further. Every movement sent sharp pain through her arms and legs. Yet in the unbearable, burning darkness, Peggy discovered a small rhythm, a pulse in the pain, a cadence in the suffering, a way to survive the day, and another, and another. By the end of the 5th day, something remarkable had happened. Peggy had become attuned to the chest. She knew its secrets, its weaknesses, its patterns. And with every ounce of energy left, she promised herself one thing: she would survive. The hot box had tried to crush her, to melt her spirit. It had failed. Every cruel hour had sharpened her mind. Every blister, every scream, every drop of sweat had forged her will. Peggy's body was battered, but her fire burned brighter than ever. Her endurance had become her defiance, her suffering, her silent rebellion. If you want to see how Peggy continues to defy death and outsmart the horrors of the hot box, share, comment, and subscribe. Her journey is about to reach its most intense trials yet. The hot box was no longer just a cage. It was a battlefield, and Peggy was learning to fight. By the 6th day, the sun hammered down mercilessly. The metal chest radiated heat like a furnace. Every breath scorched her lungs. Her skin was raw, blistered, and bleeding in places. Her muscles quivered from exhaustion. Her body begged for surrender, but Peggy's mind refused to give in. Pain had become her companion, not her enemy. She measured every shift of the metal, every expansion of the lid with the sun's heat, every vibration when a guard stepped nearby. She memorized them all, storing tiny details like survival secrets. A small corner felt slightly cooler in the morning. A thin crack allowed a whisper of air. She used them to conserve strength. The guards laughed outside, oblivious. Their taunts bounced off the iron walls. "You're finished," one spat. "Your fire is gone." Peggy smiled quietly to herself. They could torture her body, but her mind was untouchable. Her spirit burned brighter than the sun. She discovered how to manage the unbearable thirst. She scraped moisture from the metal corners. She sucked every tiny drop with careful calculation. It was barely enough, but it was enough to survive. Hunger clawed at her stomach, but Peggy reminded herself, food is temporary, survival is forever. The heat grew stronger. Every hour felt like a day. Her muscles cramped painfully. Her back ached. Her wrists screamed from the chains. The lid of the hot box pressed down with merciless weight. Yet Peggy adapted. She curled her body into tighter spaces, shifted slowly from side to side, rolled carefully to avoid burning herself on the hottest patches. Every movement was a gamble, every breath a challenge. Her mind wandered to memories of freedom, fleeting but vivid. She imagined running through fields, the feel of grass beneath her feet, the wind cooling her skin, the laughter of children, a world beyond the iron chest, waiting. She held on to it like a talisman. The guards were cruel and relentless. They kicked the lid, prodded with sticks, shouted threats. "You will break. You cannot survive." But Peggy had learned patience. She timed every small movement. She anticipated every approach. Even in agony, she was in control. The hours blurred. Heat and pain merged into a constant roar. Her body weakened further. Her tongue felt dry and cracked. Her stomach ached with emptiness. Yet the fire inside her would not die. She began whispering to herself small mantras of survival. One more hour. Endure. Breathe. Tomorrow I live. Every whisper was a weapon, every word a shield. Peggy noticed small details that could give her an advantage. A tiny ridge on the iron wall gave her a momentary respite. The lid expanded enough at certain times to allow a faint breeze. She calculated her movements meticulously, stretching her body just enough to take advantage. Every fraction of air, every fraction of cool metal became her ally. By the end of the 6th day, Peggy had become almost symbiotic with the chest. She understood it. She manipulated it. She used it against itself. The guards believed they controlled her completely. They were wrong. Every painful hour, every blistered muscle, every agonizing breath had made her smarter. Her body may have weakened, but her mind had sharpened into a blade of survival. The hot box was designed to break souls, to crush spirits, to erase hope. Yet Peggy remained, unbroken, defiant. Her suffering was no longer a punishment, it was a strategy. Every second of agony was a victory. She whispered quietly, almost to herself, "I will survive. I will not be forgotten. I am fire. I am unbroken." And for the first time that day, she allowed herself a faint spark of hope, a thought that maybe, just maybe, she could endure another day. Maybe she could see the world outside again. The hot box had tried to crush her completely. It had failed. Peggy's spirit was unstoppable. Her mind had become sharper than any weapon. Her will unbreakable. The hot box had reached its peak, and Peggy's spirit burned hotter than the flames around her. By the seventh day, the chest was a living furnace. The metal walls radiated unbearable heat. Every breath felt like swallowing fire. Her skin was blistered, raw, and bleeding. Her muscles screamed with every slight movement. Her body begged for surrender. And yet, Peggy refused to break. The guards prowled outside, their laughter cruel and relentless. "You'll die in there," one hissed. "You cannot survive this." They kicked the lid, poked with sticks, yet Peggy's mind had become a fortress. Their cruelty fueled her strength instead of weakening it. Hours passed, each feeling like an eternity. Pain and heat blurred into one constant screaming sensation. Hunger clawed at her stomach. Thirst scorched her throat. Her body shook, trembling from exhaustion. Even the simplest movement sent shocks of agony through her arms and legs. And yet, she endured. Peggy had learned the rhythm of the chest. She noticed the slightest differences in metal temperature, the tiniest gaps in the iron that allowed her a whisper of air, a cooler corner she could shift into for a momentary reprieve. Every second of survival became a calculated act. She focused on her mind, her only weapon. She whispered words to herself. Endure. One more second. Survive. Every whisper was a rebellion. Every breath of air she stole was victory. Her thoughts drifted to memories of freedom. Soft grass under bare feet, the wind against her face, the laughter of children, the warmth of a gentle hand. Even fleeting visions of joy became shields against the torment. Each memory fed her fire. The guards did not understand. They believed that hunger and heat would destroy her. They did not know that her mind had become sharper than any chain. Every poke, every taunt, every insult only made her smarter. Every cruel attempt to break her became a lesson in endurance. The hotbox seemed endless, its walls pressed against her as if trying to squeeze life from her. Yet Peggy shifted with careful precision, conserving energy, moving only when necessary. She curled up into cooler corners, stretched just enough to prevent burns, controlled her breathing to preserve strength. Every small victory, air, shade, even a droplet of condensation was monumental. Her body ached. Every blistered muscle screamed. Her back felt broken. Her hands throbbed with pain. Her lips were cracked and dry. Her throat burned with thirst. But Peggy had discovered something extraordinary. Pain could not touch her spirit. She began to strategize, small calculations, movements timed with precision. Her entire existence became survival choreography. The chest had a rhythm, the guards had a rhythm, and she had learned to exploit both. Even in suffering, hope lingered. She imagined the day she would escape, a thought so distant, yet so alive. It was enough to give her strength to endure another hour. Another second. The heat continued to crush her body, but Peggy's mind remained unbroken. Every hour of agony forged her into something stronger, smarter, more unyielding. The hotbox had been designed to destroy her, but instead, it had sharpened her spirit. Her endurance had become defiance. Her suffering had become a weapon. By the end of the seventh day, Peggy was no longer just surviving. She was mastering the chest, understanding it, bending it to her will in the tiniest, most critical ways. The guards believed they controlled her. They had no idea that every cruel act only strengthened the fire inside her. She whispered quietly to herself, her words carrying power even in the suffocating heat. "I will survive. I am stronger than this. I am fire. I am unbroken." The hotbox could burn her flesh, torment her body, crush her bones, but it could never touch her spirit. Peggy had become untouchable. Her mind was sharper than the iron around her, her will unstoppable. The chest had tormented her for a week. Now Peggy's survival was about to face its ultimate test. By the 8th day, Peggy's body was stretched to its limits. Every muscle screamed. Every joint throbbed. Her skin was raw and blistered. Her lips cracked. Her tongue was dry and swollen. Her breath came in short, searing gasps. Even blinking felt exhausting. Yet her spirit was unbroken. The guards prowled outside, their voices harsh with cruelty. "You're finished," one sneered. "Your fire is gone," another added. They kicked the lid, prodded her with sticks. They believed the hotbox had won. They were wrong. Peggy had become a master of endurance. She had learned the chest's secrets, its rhythms, its tiny weaknesses. Every second of suffering had sharpened her mind. She shifted carefully, inch by inch, finding moments of cooler air. She conserved energy, moving only when necessary. Her whispers of survival kept her spirit alive. Endure, survive, one more second. Hunger clawed at her stomach, thirst burned her throat, exhaustion pressed on her like a weight. Yet Peggy's mind became sharper than ever. Every pang of pain became a lesson, every wave of heat a reminder she was still alive. Every blink of the sun was a countdown to freedom. Then chaos erupted outside the yard, shouts, footsteps, the sounds of struggle. The guards turned, distracted. One of them left the lid unlatched for just a moment. Peggy sensed it immediately. A fraction of air, a sliver of hope. Her lungs burned as she drew it in. Her mind raced. Every second was precious. She had to act before the guards returned. She shifted subtly, moving toward the small gap that allowed her a precious breath of fresh air. Her blistered hands scraped the metal carefully. Her legs trembled. Her body screamed, but her will was unyielding. Time became a blur. Minutes stretched into eternities. The chest seemed alive, pressing down, trying to crush her. Yet Peggy had learned to exploit its rhythms, to bend its weight to her advantage. Her suffering had become a weapon. Finally, the impossible happened. A figure appeared at the edge of the yard. Someone from outside, maybe a friend, maybe a rescuer. The guards were distracted. A hand reached toward the chest. Hope surged through Peggy's battered body. She gathered every ounce of strength. She pushed, twisted, and forced the lid open. Sunlight hit her face for the first time in days. Air filled her lungs like a miracle. Freedom felt real, if only for a moment. Her legs trembled beneath her. Every step forward was agony, every breath a victory. The guards tried to stop her, but Peggy had learned everything the hotbox had to teach her. She was faster than their cruelty, smarter than their cruelty. Finally, she stumbled into the open, grass beneath her feet, wind on her skin. Life. She had survived the unthinkable. Peggy, the woman who had endured the hotbox for 8 days, had won the first battle against death. Her body was broken, battered, and bleeding, but her spirit, untouchable. Her mind, sharper than ever. She had stared death in the face, endured unbearable suffering, and lived. The hotbox had tried to destroy her. It had failed. Every cruel hour had forged her into something stronger. Every scream she swallowed became a defiance. Every pang of agony became strategy. Peggy had turned torture into triumph. After 90 days trapped in the furnace of the hotbox, Peggy's final moment of survival had arrived. The chest had become her world, a prison of iron and fire. Every inch of her body burned. Her muscles screamed with exhaustion. Her skin was blistered and peeling. Her lips cracked, dry and bleeding. Her throat felt as though it would collapse from thirst. Her breath came in ragged, scorched gasps, and yet her spirit remained untouchable. Outside, chaos raged. The guards were distracted by shouts and movement beyond the yard. They argued, cursed, and stumbled, leaving the chest momentarily unguarded. Peggy sensed it immediately. The smallest chance, the tiniest crack. Her mind, honed by 90 days of suffering, calculated every move. She shifted. A careful curl of her body, a subtle twist, a scraping of hands against blistered skin. Each motion was agony, but she endured. Every heartbeat was a defiance. Every breath stolen was victory. The lid shifted slightly. Sunlight struck her face for the first time in what felt like forever. A thin breeze kissed her skin. It was fragile, but it was enough. Enough to remind her that the world still existed beyond the chest, enough to ignite the fire of hope. Peggy pushed, using every ounce of strength left in her battered body. The lid groaned against her. Every muscle in her body screamed. Her blistered hands tore against the metal. Her legs trembled beneath her, but she refused to surrender. The chest had taken much, but it had not taken her will. She forced the lid fully open. Light and air rushed in. Her lungs drank greedily. She stumbled onto the ground outside, barely able to stand. Grass beneath her feet felt unreal. The wind on her face was paradise. She had survived the unthinkable. The guards tried to catch her, but Peggy had learned every trick the hotbox had taught her. She was faster, sharper, stronger than they could imagine. They had thought they controlled her completely. They had been wrong. Her body was broken, battered, and bleeding. Every step was agony. Every movement was torture. But her mind, untouchable. Her spirit, indomitable. She stumbled forward, drawn by freedom. Every step a declaration. Every breath a triumph. Her suffering had not destroyed her. It had strengthened her. Every blister, every scar, every pang of hunger and thirst had forged a survivor, a woman unbroken by fire, cruelty, or despair. As she collapsed beneath the shade of a nearby tree, she allowed herself a single moment to reflect. She had survived the impossible. The hotbox had failed to crush her. She had endured what no one else had survived. Her story would live, whispered among those who had suffered, feared, or struggled. Peggy of the hotbox would become legend, a symbol of resilience, courage, and defiance. Her body bore the scars of cruelty. Her mind carried the memories of suffering. Her heart was stronger than ever. She had stared death in the face for 90 days. She had endured unimaginable agony, and she had survived. The hotbox had tested everything, her body, her mind, her spirit. It had failed to destroy her. Peggy emerged not just alive, but triumphant. She whispered to herself, her voice faint but resolute, "I am fire. I am unbroken. I have survived." And in that moment, Peggy's story became immortal. A tale of endurance beyond belief, a legend of a woman who refused to die even when the world had condemned her to flames. If Peggy's story of courage, endurance, and defiance inspired you, share, comment, and subscribe. Her unbroken spirit is a reminder that even in the darkest moments, the human will can endure the impossible.